next hour here or so. And I have Veretta here on the
Thank
line.
you.
Veretta, I know we just got disconnected right before the show started, so everything's on fire, but welcome back. Glad to see that you're with us again. Now, before we get started, what is it that we need to know for this first half of the week coming up ahead?
All right. Well, liberally, you can see how the first part of the week's going to go, just like that. If it didn't actually start for you last week, you're ahead of the game because the rest of it's going to pick up on the people who think they're hiding or at least trying to stay above what needs to be done, and they're going to get slapped. So now there is going to be a group of people, a very select group of people that have already gone through this, haha, and they are going to set you aside and see other people. And this week also could be full of judgment on other people's behalf, on maybe who we are, on what other things are. Very polarity verse mind style, one or the other. Well, if it isn't that, then it isn't that, and it sure isn't that, so it must be that. Okay, well, take care of that um, for you. So it's just going to be one of those. Depending upon choices in the past, you got it made, or you're going to get slapped. It's just that easy to say. This is where karma comes around and bites you just a little bit, to remind you that it's there, consequence and all.
Would you also say that this could also just be indicative of whatever it is that we're working on about ourselves? We just get pissed off and say, you know what, I'm just going to open my wallet and throw some money at the problem to make it go
Yeah.
away. I could do it myself, but to hire professionals and bring them in would make the process so much faster. Is that kind of what you're getting at here? That we might just reach that breaking point?
Yeah, because we're honestly looking for what we want as help, and spirit is seeing it more like, no, you just make you disabled because you think you want that. Strong desire is what there's a difference in wanting something and creating it, and having it manifested for you, built from abundance. And you can have all kinds of things built for you, but if you don't know how to keep it, if you don't know how to maintain it, and you can't stay out of it to save your life, then even though you can manifest all you want, it's not going to stay that way. It just isn't, because you're putting a polarity to it.
And something about life, just in general, is the more you fight something, the worse it gets for you. I've come to this conclusion myself
Oh,
that
heck yeah.
I've come to this conclusion myself that I'm just going to stop trying to stop preventing these things from happening to me. Like these changes, they're coming whether I like it or not. So quit trying
Well,
to resist it.
yeah.
I may not like the end
I,
result in this exact moment, and that may seem
uh-huh.
disgusting to me, to my ego, right? But I'm still going to let it happen. I'm still going to let things take their own natural course. I'm not encouraging this. I'm not going to go above and beyond to exceed my expectations or anything like that because that sounds too exhausting. That sounds too scary to me. The very best that I can give you
Yeah.
right now is to just say, let me do this right now in the moment, and we'll take it one step at a time and respond as things come my way. That's really the way that I've been
Well,
kind of doing things, and it's just worked so much better this way.
yeah. And remember hardship. If you're daring spirit, you're throwing down the gauntlet. And that may be so easy or little as little to say as you just say, no, I'm not eating tomatoes. I'm not. I'm just going to have to eat tomatoes. Somewhere along the line, God's going to shove tomatoes in your face. And that's to put it nicely. If you totally deny um, that something exists or can affect you, Spirit's going to put it in your face. You're going to have that opportunity, like it or not. If um, if you stand firm on no, that'll never be me. That'll never take place. I would never allow that to happen. You're going to get it served to you on a gold platter. I don't care what it is. I don't care what your beliefs are. You really have to understand that spirit does take these moments when you throw those gauntlets down to remember it in the future, whether you do or not. So then at some point, way down the road, and you get tapped, and it's your turn, you're pissed. Why do I have to get this? This shouldn't be my life. It shouldn't be, no, but you're the one that created that. However long ago, it was at your demand, and that's what keeps us moving. The majority of people never find lasting happiness because, in an ego sense, most of them are living like self-centered, self-absorbed lives. They don't understand what is outside of them may affect them. That, and when I say outside of them, I mean I'm like three ripples out in the rings of connection. Um, so you don't know them, and you probably don't know somebody that knows them, but somebody that you know used to know or maybe will know knows them. And if you don't take care of the fact that should you run into them, they may interact with you negatively in the future. You don't know that. You just don't know. There's a seven laws of connect, and you were very well aware of that. I've heard you quote of certain things about the same thing. 7 points connection. That what we need to manifest will come around. And like you said, whether we like it or not, that's debatable. That's not. We're not sure about that. That's again depending upon choices you may get in there. I mean, if you're putting your foot down and you're throwing the gauntlet down and you're saying, no, I'm not going to live that way. The people that live that way are the people that don't have happy lives. By that I mean anybody that is going to stand there and say, no, my way is the better way, and no, I can't actually tell you why. However, I believe that my way is the only right way there is to have. And there you're seeing resourceful bigotry and everything else that is at hand for them to judge so they can continue to stand strong in their demand of morality. And the whole thing about morality is not so much nothing can't be done, is that it wasn't already orchestrated by someone else to happen. And so therefore you're saying, well, we don't have any free will about anything, do we? Yeah, I didn't say anything about your free will with that statement. But you most definitely aren't doing anything other than what your higher soul contracted to do, believe it or not. That's odd, I know. And you have choices though. You've got to remember you've got choices for everything about from the beginning to the end. You have choices on what this life's going to be like. When you come into it, you have already pre-screened and pre-planned that maybe, this parent's going to be great for me. That parent maybe sucks a lot, and they're not really going to be in my life, so it really doesn't matter a lot. So you move past that. You move past the need to compromise, like your choice. Well, all right, I guess I'll have that because there's nothing else left for me. And in reality, what it was is what you wanted to begin with, but you weren't going to be greedy and say so. You're going to hope it fell out of heaven's lap or heaven's hands and fell in your lap because you didn't want to look greedy. Oh, look, there it is. And you can't call that a manifestation? Okay. Let's review what the simple rules of vocabulary are, right? Manifestation is the ability to create and receive, always in a strong foundation, never in forceful beginnings. Always being able to manage the maintenance due versus having to fight for it. Creating a negative consequence versus a positive reassurance environment. Happy versus sad. Eager versus prideful. Control versus free will. You have to be accountable for your actions and indulge your own blunders versus having the art of deflecting and the technique of denial. You can choose what's easier to carry and maintain in this life story. And when I wrote this, and I'm going to edit this a little later on, it's part of my book. When I wrote this, I was concentrating on narcissism. And I don't want to use empath in there, but because everybody else beats that the crap up. But I want to say I was looking on narcissism and certain types of relationship boundaries that happen. So Because even there, we have a choice. We have a choice to be the victim. We have the choice to be the procreator, proactor. So anyway, blenders. So you have to choose your storyline from before you get here to the end, and knowing with acceptance and forgiving and um, free will are going to bring you what you want. Always going to bring you what you want. And so now that comes to change. You said, I'm scared to death to think about change. Well, guess what? You have to change something about your variety of characteristics has to have flexibility. Believe it or not, you have to have variety of stuff. I'm sure you know this and you've already sourced it out, but what I pick up from you and what is true for a lot of people like us is you've got to be able to have source of material, um, because that gives you what you want as far as writing, creating, whatever, dating. The fact is you've got to have fresh source material on a regular basis. Now, that might be fine if you're not worried about money, if you're not worried about relationships, stability, if you're not worrying about, your house, your home, and all the comforts of life you may have. But this one's going to be about whether or not you actually get what you want and can maintain what you need. And when it doesn't start to burn down on you, freak out. So you are in a position of learning through this lifetime stability period of all of those things. And well, how can I be learning stability if I don't have something? I did at one point, and who said you won't in the future? Because the right this second is not the end of all be all. It's the beginning of another. Right this second is the beginning of another. Right this second is the beginning of another. So you choose to um, mm, participate at whatever level you wanted to choose on. It's every second of every day. And when you also look at the fact that, okay, so you can choose every second of every day. If you're out and about, like us and really wanted to stay inbound. Although when I have my independence, I can be anywhere in a hot second because I like to go out and I like the versatility. I need to change just a little bit to give me what I need and keep me on track. And so are those days when I can't go out to get it, I do something online. I draw a doodle or, I do a God giggle. I add more to my books. So if you have some type of things prearranged to do in the moments where you maybe didn't plan something for that exact thing, that moment to happen or to bring you to this exact moment in time, then you start to think about, well, what am I going to do if I want a time off? Because if it is about not being, you're creatively blocked or you just really don't want to do much of anything, you like to be pampered, you figure out how. You figure out how you want to do that. And all these things are your tricks of manifestation. And I know it sounds to you like, that's too simple. Well, yeah, it might be for somebody like you, but for a lot of other people trying to think about that energy and then bring it to you, making sure it doesn't get blocked. One of the things that people have to remember is the choices that we have can only survive on the level of energy we give them. So that means if we're in our head and we're in our heart going, yeah, I want to do that too, and you're only really saying it, it's only really coming out of your mouth. The actions and choices are going to be two different things. But you have to be responsible for those actions. And say you got caught not really wanting to go. Are you going to lie now and say, well, I really did want to go. I don't know what you're thinking. That was never said out loud. It has to be with an empath. An empath is going to know. A really good empath is going to source the material and look at who they're working with and understand empathically what it is they really mean or are feeling, but won't let it show. So you've got a lot of connections to each body, which believe it or not, isn't even enough, isn't even a little bit of enough for humans to live on this polarity reality for this show that we're in called life. Um, we get to that point is where we circle around and we realize then again, well, if this life is not all there is, but I have choices for all this life, well, what do I want to do with it? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do with it? No, no, tell me what I want to do with it. No, I'm not telling you what you want to do with it. That's not my position as a mystic medium to tell you what you want to choose. Nor is it any other psychic or clairvoyant or anything else that's intuitive enough to hear in their mind, hopefully, no, don't tell him because he needs to figure that out on his own because there's those things. But at this point, you're not at that narrative, and you need to find out who you are in your soul, and then realize, okay, so this is who I am today, but tomorrow's going to be different because tomorrow's always different. And learn to navigate those shit. It's going to be scary because it's new. Navigate that with, oh, it's brand new. I get to play with this like a new fluffy puppy. Every day you wake up, today is a new fluffy puppy to me, and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to, I'm going to die a long time from now, hopefully when I'm old, cuddle in my long fluffy puppy every day I get puppy when I get up. Now, if that is too hard for you to imagine, okay, go back to wherever it was that was lost, or you just couldn't hear anymore past that, and do a little bit of meditating on that phrase, and bring it up enough that it starts to give you hints and reference snippets, thankfully recorded, of what's been said. And you've got a lot of snippets of my book in there that I just threw at you as well, Ernesto. So how are you feeling this week?
So I've been having an interesting experience where, Charlene, I just want to say hi to you out there. I do see you on the phone lines. We're going to finish up this conversation and then we'll get to everybody who would like to speak with us. Remember, just give us a call here on the show. We're not paying attention to those other chat outlets like on YouTube or wherever. Give us a call here on the show. That's area code 319 527 6071. We'll be here for like the next 45 minutes or so. And please remember to press 1 so that you can speak to us. It does let me know through the phone system that you would like to talk. So my experience, Veretta, has been that as I have slowly been working on these things and deciding that I'm really running a race with a broken leg, I finally decided I don't have to run the race anymore, do I? Because my leg's actually not broken. That's just, a very weird thing that I've gaslighted myself into believing, that I need to have all of these other elements in my life that just don't belong there. So those structures are slowly being lifted and moved away from me. And what I've noticed through my life experience has really been quite remarkable, that a lot of the defensiveness that I normally experience on a day-to-day basis, that's just kind of dropped by the wayside. A lot of the general nastiness has just sort of gone away. And what's really sort of surprised me is the overall level of positivity. Just, I see more and more of it every single day, and it keeps attracting to me. And that's something I never had before. So this is a result of me changing my actions and doing those other things that have been too scary for too long. So what's been happening as a result of that is I've been doing a whole bunch of relationship work in my chart, trying to pin down the moment, or the day when I'm going to meet somebody that I'm going to settle down with in a very serious sort of way. So I've been doing the work on myself to make room for this person. And what I came to learn throughout everything, once it was all said and done, it wasn't a matter of I have to make room for this person. Where I really have to make room for this person is in my heart. And that's something that makes sense. It seems very hokey, if anything else, very Hallmark card aisle kind of thing. But it's not just that. It's also just me being receptive to love and realizing that this is something that I have a very tough time giving myself because of the self-care issues and all of those other things, which many of us can relate to. So now this has been a part of my narrative, is that I am attracting different types of prospective mates along the way. And every single person sort of has a different story to tell. Like that relationship life would look different. it never really works out in the way that I want it to, very simply just because the astrology isn't there. But every person I meet along the way is a direct reflection of my journey and the things that I am working on. I had an experience a couple of weeks ago where I was talking to somebody and it was really sort of like a perfect connection, and I even got into like writing some astrology pages in my book about it. It was really quite good. And then what came up at the end was so shocking. It was just like, this is like a soulmate kind of connection, really true, deep love that spans across, eons and lifetimes and all of that hokey stuff again. But what happened is that when we had planned to meet each other, it just fell apart. Something really freaky and weird happened where like that just couldn't we just couldn't be together. And while the astrology wasn't there that we would meet in the way that I wanted it to happen, the way that my ego wanted to run the show, this person just went away. So that told me when I look back at, well, why did that happen? Because something was very simply wrong about that situation. If we look at like the whole concept of like soul contracts and agreements and all of that, remember that it does have to be on both sides. That I may really want to be with you, but if you don't want to be with me, and that may even be a result of your free will, that my actions in my life and whatever it is that I'm working on disgusts or revolts you, then that means that we're just not going to get together because you can't see me for my true authentic self and my best life kind of thing. So that's kind of why these people will be taken away, is or even job situations. This is another thing that happens quite frequently, is we have this dream situation or job that's going to save our lives, get us out of all kinds of trouble. The experience is terrific, everything about the environment is wonderful, and then the company suddenly goes bankrupt, or the feds shut them down, or something happens that gets in the way to where you can't do that job anymore that you just fell in love with. Well, that's because something was wrong with it. And that again gets into like that soul agreement sort of discussion where we have these things with people where it does have to be a two-way street. And what's great about Uranian astrology is that you can actually confirm those soul contracts and agreements. So when I'm looking at this relationship chart and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is like the perfect person, and it's all like kittens and rainbows, warm and fuzzy, brings out the best aspects of myself, I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is dreamboat kind of status. And you know what else? I created this person through my own actions. So it was so thrilling, the fact that this could all come together, and the fact that I knew that I brought this person together as a result of me changing myself and doing those scary things that I had been putting off for so long. What ended up happening once that was all taken away from me, I kind of thought to myself, I was really heartbroken and upset. But then I also thought, so when I do meet that person, if this person does not come back, if those issues don't fix themselves, the next person that comes along is going to be beyond my wildest dreams. And I thought this person was already like hitting a slot machine jackpot. So it doesn't get much better than that, except for maybe winning the Powerball. It's the only possible thing that I can think of. So this has been my experience with people lately, and what's been happening as a result of changing myself. It's really quite magical. A lot of us just don't want to do it because we're comfortable and doing what we know how to do best. But when we challenge our thoughts and push ourselves to just live that best part of ourselves, like what happens if I do that other thing? Or we even tell ourselves, like, I know that the soda is bad for me, but I drink it anyway because I like the taste, kind of thing. When are we going to finally rip off the Band-Aid? Just do it. It's okay. It's not going to hurt. I'm not going to hold your hand, but you'll be okay. It's not that scary. Veretta, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm trying to remember. There's a guy on the internet. It's BWB positivity or something like that. And what you just said, that so relics what he says in how he comes across where certain things are concerned. His art was, I believe, I think it was addiction or something. So it was very funny though. The way you just said that was very reminiscent of him. And I can see you doing Ernesto little snap memes on YouTube or not, wherever. So that's where I was for a minute there. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we just got a donation for the show from Linda, but it didn't give me a callback number or anything else, so I'm a little bit confused. Just give me a moment to sort of catch up, and we'll take care of this. Okay, great. So, no. All right, yeah, I don't know where that is. So, Linda, if you're out there on YouTube, we can't see you, and we don't do chat readings. You can either give us a call on the show at 319-527-6071 or Facebook Live or wherever you are, and you can either go to eastrologer.tv so you can send me a message with your birth chart or your birth data that way if you didn't want to give it over the air, since you did buy a friend of the line pass, and we'll get you taken care of. Otherwise, just give us a call on the show, and we'll get you next in line. But for right now, we're going to get off to Charlene at area code 604 here. And Charlene, I do have your chart up, so let's take a look at that on our YouTube stream if you're watching us over there.
Thank you. I'm actually Linda. That's my first name. But
Oh,
anyway,
Linda.
topic.
Okay,
Yay.
all right. Go, perfect. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, and Linda, so do you have a question for us today, or do you have would you like a general reading?
I'm probably more concerned right now about my son is probably my bigger concern. So is it okay if I ask on him?
Okay, what's his name?
Or do you prefer Zach?
Zach, okay. Loretta, what you got for Zach here?
All right. So, Mom, he may, if he hasn't already, he may need to get in a little bit more reckless behavior and learn by that before he kind of starts to settle down and realize he's got himself into a pickle if he doesn't grow the heck up and take accountability.
Oh, he's in a pickle now. He's in a big pickle right now. He's literally in a very big pickle.
Well, if he is not straight up incarcerated or in the hospital, that's where it'll need to be, unfortunately. He's dealing with, he thinks he's dealing with the very recent past, but he's dealing with a lot of the combination of being pissed off about Dad, having to make choices or live with stupid things with you. So I think he thinks he's looking at parents that didn't give a rat's ass or didn't know what they were talking about. Either those two things. There's one in there. There's another one in there too, and that is that he wanted something. He really wanted something at some point in his time, and he didn't get it. You guys didn't get it. And ever since then, it's like his whole attitude has changed. Well, it's just not going to get better. He'd rather go get lost than make this attitude go away. And that's basically the niche of his behavior at this point in time. I don't care what you do to me. I can do it worse to me. I am not going to settle. I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do from now on. If I can't get or have what I want, then I don't want anything else. I want it on my terms. Well, now he has to decide that being pissed off at the past really didn't get him great answers for the right now, which would have been his future. And he needs to just either figure out a way to transmute that or blow it off in a manner that he understands. Compartmentalization means that he only gets mad at that, and the rest of life is taboo. If he's getting mad at something about that, then that's on him. That's his fault. But the rest of life doesn't have to pay for it. He's going to have to get worse before it gets better. Well, unfortunately. And there's only so much you can do, so don't take him on like a major life project. I know he's your son, but you have other children too, and you're setting them tone if what they see is him screw off and Mom runs to save him. Oh, good, we don't have to participate in life as adults either. Let's not. No. Yeah, he needs to grow up a little bit severely. Ernesto, what do you have?
Yeah, so Linda, when I'm taking a look at this, the big standout for me about Zach and sort of where he's at in life right now is he is in a really desperate attempt to find God. That's really truly what he's trying to do right now. And he's doing that through like some really bad things. You know, like there's a lot of drug addiction. Well, let me rephrase. There's a lot of drugs, and there's a lot of addiction, and there's a lot of vices, and there's a lot of terrible people. So these are all just things, these are all elements that are all just sort of snowballing together to create this effect that's essentially just gutting his life by the moment. So what I would recommend to him is, I know we've talked about this before, that he's looking at getting some professional help. That's really one of the best things that he can do, is just have a sounding board to get a lot of those things out. And I do also think that his legal issues that he's going through right now, they're probably going to be somewhat related to housing, but that's going to be something that really needs to be on the forefront and taken care of, like sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my hope is, because there's another person involved, and I believe that there's a lot of mischief that was involved in there, and it was malice, and he was set up for a number of things. And I'm not trying to minimize his behaviors, but it really feels like there was a lot of malice. So I'm hoping that it's recognized and that this person is caught. I really believe in my heart and soul that he's learned his lessons. I don't. I feel like he's been broken as far as he's going to be broken, but I just desperately hope that this other person is exposed.
Do you have his birth time? I'm just curious.
Yep, 247 June 22nd, 95.
Okay, so, something I want to let you know about is you really want to think about signing up for the subscriber special with us. It's $100 and for a half hour with both Veretta and I can take a look at Zach's chart with a lot more detail than what we can do here on the air. And then we can also knock out a lot of your big questions about like his legal issues and sort of what's coming down the line for him, because I can't do that without his stuff. And that's a whole separate, reading, because I have to prepare all of that. So I think that there's a lot of great benefit of us kind of getting together offline so we can talk about those things.
Right.
So then the other thing is, I feel like that he definitely did learn his lesson. So whatever happened, he is free from this in like the sense that I don't have to do that again. Like his soul said, that was really dumb. I'm glad we learned that lesson, but we don't need to do it again. It reminds me of like that one the one time I decided to go out drinking. I did way too much. It went way overboard, and I never did it again because that killed it for me. So I have an aversion to alcohol as a result of that.
Right. Yes. Understood.
Veretta, what advice do you have for Linda here to pass along to Zach about finding God? Because that really seems to be a key theme here in this chart.
Okay, well, so first of all, don't negate him in anything he's thinking, including atheism, only because he is thinking in one form or another. I think right now what you want to do is shift him into a different perspective of find God, the infinite creator, over or from that to like really open up your reality about what God may be. What if God isn't a person or a deity? What if God is more like a piece of energy and he has no matter? Start opening up questions to him, like stuff like that, because then that makes him start thinking in that direction. And you're not challenging his beliefs whatsoever. And in fact, you're incorporating it into your thinking system. So let him see that you're interested. Let him know that it doesn't matter whether you agree. Just let him know that you know that it may be harder sometimes for him to think about questions to ask, and do the places where insert God here, spirituality. People will have disabilities or agreements or liabilities or limitations or whatever. Just remember, sports, religion, and politics. So keep it compartmental. Although he doesn't bring it up a lot or at all, I get that. But if you're sure that that's what he thinks, or Ernesto, if you're sure that's what he thinks he's looking for, um, then I would go ahead and capitalize on that. Just make a communication point, and see what you can find. Help him bring that into his world, and you're doing it passively. If he says absolutely nothing, it doesn't matter. The fact is you brought it back up. So now I got him thinking about it again. So just keep bringing it up.
Right.
It's really a
Okay.
he's really just looking to expand his mind, to open his worldview, to get some new perspectives and think about things in ways that he never really has before. I think just because of conditioning and life experience that you've never really been able to think outside the box, and now it's kind of like, oh, this was so jarring and so shocking to me that there really must be a lot more to the world. What a beautiful day. Look at the blue sky, that kind of thing. This is sort of his experience right now, and just realizing that a lot of what he did in the past didn't have to go down that way, but it was just his own choices because that's what his soul decided to design to learn from. So that's why he had that experience, but now he's ready to move past it.
Right. Right.
If
So
go ahead.
it'll be one more dip potential for him. Like I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But keep encouraging him, even if it gets worse. Honey, I'm not going to go away. I have to make most use of glass and a little window, but I'm not going to go away. You got me here no matter what. I love you no matter your choices. I love you, and if that's what it takes to keep you in a good frame of mind, then she keeps remembering, I love you. Every once in a while, send him a meme. Don't force it. Don't ask him to ask. Don't ask him to talk. Don't ask him to do anything. Just send him a meme every once in a while.
Yeah, just let him have his space, and poking and prodding too hard is going to alienate. So everything has
Yeah,
to
you
be
don't want to do that.
everything has to be done super slow and in its own time. And I know that's excruciating because we're human beings in American culture where everything has to be done right now. But people are people, and this is just the way of the world. So it will get better. But for right now, I think the main thing that he just needs to do is honestly get some rest and still process a lot of what's kind of been going through his life and changing and everything else, because these are major themes that have really shaken up his soul and are really affecting him in some big ways.
Yeah. Yep, they certainly are.
Well, I just want to leave you with this, Linda. Go out to Amazon and look at the book Sophie's World. It's a book like it's for high school students, really, but it's an overview of like world's philosophy. It's really easy and down to earth. I loved it. I read it in high school, and it was just so simple and to understand. And it teaches you about like the progression of world philosophy, starting from Socrates, getting into some of the other stuff over time, and it also talks about like Nietzsche and Kant and all those other people. It for somebody who's really looking to open their perspective on different worldviews, it's a great way to introduce them to some new things, and it's only a few pages of information to get across. So it's a quick digest, which I really recommend.
Nice, thank you. Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
it
I
was
see multiple ones here on the net when I look at it.
yeah, but that's a great book. So if it'll open up his mind to a lot of things. Actually, I credit that book for being the one thing that opened my mind to spirituality in a lot of ways. Because before I ever got into astrology or metaphysics, even that was all crazy people talk. That was all demonic because of my raising and conditioning, and it was just like these are things that you just don't do. So I remember like when the retail space where Veretta worked, I entered that retail space way before we actually met, and having this intense sensation of creepiness that was associated with like, what are all of these candles and crystals doing here? Like, this is just like, I don't know, it's witchcraft or some weird nonsense like that. So I made peace with it because that book helped me to open my mind to realize, so all of this indoctrination you've been receiving over the years, there's so much more to the world. and it gets you to understand that, and that's really kind of like shocking and mind blowing when you realize that there is so much more than what you ever thought was possible.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah. We
most definitely,
haven't even.
you were right
Go ahead.
in what you're picking up in that real estate retail space. I'll tell you what, I got stories of Amazon carriers or FedEx carriers standing from the sidewalk outside asking for somebody to leave the door open and chucking the boxes in there because he wasn't going to come in. He felt so awkward in that place. He didn't know where he'd walked into, what he'd come into. So your feeling is right on tack. And yes, it was creepy in there. They did weird things, very, very bad weird things.
Like not paying people. That's not great.
No, right, exactly.
Yes. Yes. Everybody deserves to
making
make money.
Right, and so so the question there was, well, where is half of everything we're making going if it can't support the store? Well, I guess you don't overthink that kind of thing. It is good. All the fun days in the days of carriers. Everybody thought they could be one, so they were.
Well, Linda, it was
Where were you guys working at?
it was like a metaphysical bookstore kind of place. One of those places where you can buy candles and crystals and all of that and get a psychic reading on
Right.
top of it. It's one of those kinds of shops.
Right.
They
And
had,
I think it's similar to churches, right? Some places you're going to have people that have their. I think Zig Ziglar used to say, "Come on in. There's room for more." For flaky people, but you can have people who do fear-based work, right? They're not necessarily, and they don't necessarily.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it wasn't Yoda who said it, but there was maybe it was Yoda. They'd said something to the effect of, "I just sense too much fear around them. They're just not the right. It's just not the right thing." And that's essentially, it's just a different vibration, right? And
yeah, that's definitely. And in that situation, there was a lot of icky going on, and so when people walked in and found that's what they felt. If they had no idea what they were walking into, they associated that, what they saw, then with what they felt. And so even though there's beautiful
Right.
candles and books and crystals and incense and oils, and that's one of those places, and we don't go in there. And that's really what you've got. You've got the mentality of people that want to stay strong to the fear-based reality of religion. And then you've got the people that are going like, I don't see what's the fear. What's the big deal here? I don't get it, because I'm not afraid of any of that stuff. It doesn't harm me. And it has nothing to do with religion. I wanted to go get that really cool candle I saw. So
right.
some people have to be big enough minded not to think one absolutely, all inclusively maintains a religion. That place sure didn't.
Right.
There was no religion associated to that place whatsoever. Could have been. She could have had so much more potential with that place than what she chose to see and what she allowed other people to see. I saw it different
Right.
than what and I saw more about the energy that was there than her. She wanted other readers to see, and it wasn't because she told me. It was because I picked it up, and she would just rattle me because she wanted to keep me in line. That's the mentality she had. So
Right.
yeah, that stuff's real. It's very real, and people can find a way if they control by it. Then they've got a little niche, see, and they think they're on top. But I never chose the dark art or any witchcraftery purposefully, and I never realized that's what I was getting into. I never saw that until I didn't really even wholeheartedly believe in it, witchcraft, until I went in there. And so then when I saw what I saw after a while and had experiences with, I absolutely knew. I learned from that experience, even though it was negativity. All I wanted to do was work in a place like that. Holy cow, I want to work in a place like that. That's really cool. And so I got it. I got what I wanted. And then I got the other star or whatever for being pretty hefty in clients there. So I knew that I carried a fourth of the commissions and the need for overhead. I carried that symbolically on my own. So that's a big lot of people to piss somebody off enough to say, I don't care, you can leave. You're not going to get what you want. And that was where her ego failed her. And I don't know how many more people before me like that came along. It didn't take them 6 years though to realize they were getting maimed harmfully. But I've always been like that. I've always been, oh, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But I grew up a lot in the metaphysical world, and that's where I got when I got my PhD, because I could do it online. So it was very handy.
Right. All right. Well, now, is there any messages specifically for me? May I ask? Is that okay?
What's the other name he called you?
Linda.
Well, Charlene is my name.
Oh, Charlene is what I wanted to say.
All right, great.
So I want to say, yeah, you've got an elder female in spirit. I don't know just what she meant by message. Just got to tell you, because she was calling you Charlene, and I want to say that you've got big hugs and kisses coming from her. You also have a lot of potential. It's probably son Zach going to prison or whatever. It's going to take a lot off of your heart, but it's going to restore your vision. So when when the finality of what's coming is coming on him, you're going to be freed up to do nothing but just think of him and give him the best healing that you can from your head and your heart, because there'll be nothing you can technically do with your hands. So,
right.
Just figure that the practice you're going to receive with him over the next few months, actually the next few weeks, it's going to mean a lot for your relationship with him, a lot. So just figure out how you're going to institute and the bond that you're going to need for him to let you help him, and not go at it with each other, swinging and screaming and whatnot. It'll be okay overall if you just stand your ground. You are in a position of standing your ground, understanding his liberties, and letting him basically eat the circumstance that he got. That's basically all you can do is just say, "Oh, I just won't do it again, will you?" You forgot who we are. We do things old school here.
My advice to you, Charlene, is just everything that's going on with your son right now. You can impart personal responsibility. That's one thing. But the moment it starts to feel like work, then that's kind of when it's gone too far. This needs to be so casual that pushing too hard, it will cause a separation. So that's kind of why I'm saying when it feels like work, then that's kind of when you need to stop. Then that's sort of when you've hit the burner and you can't go any further. So it's gauge it from your own personal emotions and sort of how you're feeling about everything, because it seems to me, based on what I can see in your chart, you're an extremely psychic or an intuitive person. So I mean, and I should hope so anyway. If you're not, then that's definitely something that you came here to work on. So that self-awareness about what I'm feeling on the inside about this situation that really sort of tears me apart because it's so distressing. If that ever starts to just feel like this isn't the way that I walked into the room today, not feeling it at the moment, walk away. That's gonna be your peace of mind in all of this.
Okay. So work more with the
sweetheart.
serendipitous. Sorry.
Yeah, you're very sensitive. That's for sure. You know, not just as the mother that you are, and that's what you would say. Oh, it's just mother's intuition. Yeah, okay, you can call it a mother or son or a grandmother, gopher, I don't care what it is you call it. It's still your intuition. And so, should you decide to develop it, now would be a good time, you see, because in a way you need to detach from him and let him go through whatever he's going to go through. So you go into meditation and or sitting in a class of some sort of development, if they're around you, I think would be a great ambition right now for you, and for him to see that you are not going to let this stop you. So he might as well get over it and be a little more conscientious about what he's doing.
Right. Right.
And if you need more,
Right, well,
like
thank you.
Vanessa said, give us a call. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again. I appreciate your insights very much.
Yep, we're always here for you. And thanks so much, Charlene. We will catch up with you real soon. Be sure to give us a call back and let us know how it turns out.
I will. Blessings to you both. Be
For
well.
sure. Many blessings. Take care until next time. Okay, and we are going to get off to area code 904 here with Stacy, and this will be our last call for the show, and then we're going to close things out. Hi, Stacy. Are you on the line with me? Can you hear me right now?
I can hear you. Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Perfect. Hey, welcome on the show. I just want to let you know, would you mute your YouTube audio so we can avoid that feedback loop? You can still watch what's on the screen, but just talk through your phone to us.
Okay.
Okay, great. And then now I do have a question, Stacy, for you. Now, would you like a general today, or do you have a question, about an issue?
You can do a general, please.
Okay, health, love, or career? Which one? Or do you want us to pick for you?
Career.
Beretta, what you got?
Hooray for Stacy. Okay. So believe it or not, you didn't get the job that you want because you're being protected. Even though, man, I don't give a crap about all that protection stuff. Just give me the job that I want, okay? But you only saw what they wanted you to see. And even though you would think, well, I've done that work, isn't it all the same? Yeah, no. It's run by a whole different set of type of people when you get in there and start working for them. So don't be mad because you didn't get that job. Well, how long is it going to be? Well, 6 to 8, maybe 9 weeks. I hate to tell you that. Don't spend any more money on prepping for jobs or doing any kind of homework on what it'll be, because I really kind of think that it's going to be something Spirit. Actually, it's happened. Also, I see Spirit's thrown little delicacies at you that you turned down because you didn't think you had what it took, or you didn't want to go get what it took. I don't know what that means. So, Ernesto, do you...
What's that?
And when I hear... I was just going to say, can you give her more? And then as I was going to say that, I heard... oh, shoot. I forgot. No, it was that fast in and alone. Don't negate anything that you haven't tried yet. Don't put it in the don't do file if you haven't tried it yet. You only put it in the don't do file because it's really something you don't ever want to do. So if you haven't tried it, it's in the yes category. And go back to wherever it was and get your job application and get your job started. It may take the 6 to 9 weeks, literally, because she's going to hold her resumes instead of get them all started and throw them all out at once. She's going to only give one at a time and wait for a response one at a time. So anyway, Ernesto, can you give her a more precise time frame that she has to suffer and wait by?
Sure. So as far as the work stuff is concerned, looking at that, let me just check one more thing here. I just got to add this last point to the chart. Great. This one here. Now, it's kind of getting into what we were talking about at the show. It's funny, Beretta, that how these conversations always come back to us, that we were talking that sometimes we have these agreements with people or corporations, and something about the job or the situation is just freaky, so it goes away. We're being protected, and it may or may not come back to us. Very rarely does it ever come back to us. That's just something I've noticed, and I don't know if that's true or not. Beretta could probably validate that a lot better. But Stacy, taking a look at your job situation and sort of what's going on here, the job, well, first of all, this is the year that you're going to... This is probably going to be somewhat of a challenging year as far as work is concerned. I see like unemployment is sort of like one of those really serious concerns. I do think you'll have great luck with it. as far as, like finding work, but the work that you find is going to be stuff that you don't want to do. It's stuff that is really sort of beneath you. It's either too easy, the company is messed up in some way, or like the people just aren't very nice kind of thing. So there's something unpleasant about the work that you do. That's the kind of work that you're going to find. The real dream job kind of stuff, not this year. It's just not in the stars for you. So I mean, it can happen. Let's be very crystal clear that those job potentials are there, but they're not going to be necessarily in the time frames that you're sort of thinking or wanting that to happen. So what I'm seeing here for you as far as the work situation is concerned is look for things that are a little bit outside of your comfort zone, things that you would think are either beneath you because they're just not right, like they're just stuff that you could do in your sleep, or stuff that like it's in a bad part of town kind of thing. Those are going to be the jobs where you're actually going to have better success and you'll actually do really well. So by working with unpleasantness, you'll have great success, but trying to find the big fancy, like the thing that you were really looking for, that's just not happening right now. So you have to sort of distract yourself with other things so you can wait for that other timing to happen. Are you there? Hello?
I'm here. I had muted myself.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay. That sounds right.
I do
Thank
that
you.
always.
Okay. All right. So is that making sense to you, Stacy?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay, yeah, and there will be a change. That you are definitely in a change for your job. You may even be up for a total career shift. So like whatever you were doing before,
job.
and then
Good for you.
Okay.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll be. I think so. So basically, what he's telling you is this may not be the same one that you're going to stay in indefinitely. But it's all
Right.
good because the fact is even if you don't get to stay in this one, it still helps with the unemployment polls.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all good about not getting the job you need right freaking away. It's just like he said, keep looking and broaden your reach. Don't just get stuck on one thing, thinking, well, I wanted to do this one, so I'm going to look at all of these, and nothing else happens. Well, nothing else happens because that's not when you're supposed to be looking at. Keep looking at other things. Seriously.
And then the
Okay.
the one thing that you will find about the company though that you do end up working for, you're gonna love the heck out of the people. Like the situation, the work culture is just gonna be fabulous, and you're gonna fall in love with it. So you will be excited to wake up for this job, even though it's something you never knew you wanted, and it's probably 3 steps below of your actual worth. It's everything that you could have possibly wanted in a job, and it's going to set you up for some new skills too that you're going to rely on in the future. I met somebody recently who worked as a software engineer for a large portion of their life, and then suddenly they got laid off, and then they decided in just sort of a major life change, I want to become a dental hygienist. So they go on and do that for 17 years until they retire. Total change in career. Software engineer, dental hygienist. So like Veretta was saying, don't invest in anything. So like schooling probably wouldn't be the best choice because that's going to create some issues, especially since we know that there are some unemployment concerns on the horizon. So just be open to the fact that you may be pushed into a direction that you never saw coming, and you'll know, like in your own intuition, it'll just kind of be like this funny feeling like that's never going to happen, and you just sort of laugh to yourself,
Right.
but it's just a funny feeling in the back of your mind like, well, I don't know, maybe that sounds kind of good, what if I did that?
Yeah. 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 No, don't dare stir it. Go
Okay.
for it anytime, anywhere.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome. You have a great Sunday.
yeah, it was great to have you on the show.
You as well. Thank you.
Be sure to give us a call back and let us know how it turns out. We'll catch up with you real soon. Take care, and until
Sure.
next
I
time.
will. Thank you.
Good.
Hmm.
Many blessings. Okay, and we are going to close out the show for today. We do want to thank all of our guests for joining us here, and also Allison and Dion. I did see you out on the lines. Thanks so much for joining us as always. We really do appreciate having you as listening. We will be back with you guys next time on Wednesday, the 10th, for a 1 hour program at 6 p.m. Arizona time. For all other things Uranian Astrology, be sure to go to eastrologer.tv, and you can hit up Veretta at verettavision.com. Quick PSA, the subscriber special, it is $100 for 30 minutes with Veretta, and now you do get both of us in a private session where you can knock out all of those burning questions and issues that you want to talk about. I don't have that set up as a store on my website. I've got some IT issues that I'm working on right now. So just hit me up directly if that's something that you're interested in, and I can just invoice you that way. Thanks so much again, everybody.
Great.
And Veretta, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Have a great rest of your week, guys, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Bye-bye now.
Until next time, good luck and Godspeed.